You've done teeth though, haven't you?
I've done teeth. Yeah. Yes, I'd sort of make it up. That was fun.
Yeah.
That was quite a thing. Freaked people out on Instagram. Brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah.
The comments were very mixed. Hello there.
Hello. We're here to do another episode of The Historian and the Maker.
Mm-hmm.
So this is Richard, award-winning goldsmith and jeweller.
Thank you much. And this is Dr. Rosamund Lily West, historian, lecturer and museum curator. And what are we talking about today?
Well, today we're talking about something which we actually talk about quite a lot, don't we? It's something that I really love, and I've worked and seen a lot in museums, and it's quite everyday for you, isn't it? It's really quite a big part of your job, or can be quite a big part of your job, which is mourning jewellery. I wasn't sure which direction you were going in. I was like, which part? So this is mourning with a U. Yes. So as part of the grieving process. You can wear it in the morning. That's not wear jewellery in the morning, yeah. And today we're talking about this brooch here. This is something that's very ordinary. This dates from 1875. And this is something that's very ordinary, very everyday piece of jewellery, because it's interesting to think about everyday things that ordinary people use, as well as, you know, things that kings and queens might have worn, which might be sort of very bejewelled.
This is in the V&A though?
Yes, this is in the V&A Museum. And this is black in colour, which is typical of mourning, particularly early stages of mourning. And it's ebonised wood. It's carved ebonised wood. So it's wood that is blackened to make it look like ebony, which is a very dark wood. And it dates to 1875, and it's a hand holding a wreath of yew, and yew is very associated, or was very associated, with grieving. It's often associated with churchyards. It can grow to be a very old
Is that because it grows well in churchyards?
Yes,
really? So it's there a lot.
It's there a lot, yeah, and it's become associated. And because it's apparently a very old tree, it's kind of associated with immortality and things like that. So like a lot of trees and plants, there's an association with it as well. So yeah, it's a very ordinary piece, but it symbolises a lot. It symbolises grief and emotion. And also what we often think about with Victorian mourning jewellery is jet. Yeah. And this isn't jet, but it's at a time where there's lots of jet substitutes around, like ebonised wood, vulcanite, bog oak, French jet, which is
bog oak
glass.
Doesn't sound romantic, does it?
No, but it's quite attractive.
I suppose that's what it is, as being honest about where it came from, instead of romanticising the name in some sense.
Yes, yeah. So, I mean, a lot of this kind of crosses over with a lot of the work you do, isn't it? Like the carved aspect. Also, you do a lot of hands.
I do a lot of hands. I practice hands. I'm quite proud of my hands. They're very difficult.
Yes.
Famously very difficult hands. And these are very well done, these beautiful hands. And this guy has something, this is harder than what I do, because when I do it, I carve it in wax. And if I make a mistake, I can melt more on. Which this is, you've got to just do it in one hit. And also this can't be reproduced. So I do things so I can take a mold, so you can make lots of them. This is just a sort of a one-off, which you have to get right. So you're saying every day, but that's an incredibly complicated piece of work to make. A lot of work. Sorry, I don't know if I interrupted you.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, I sort of said every day as in mourning jewellery and mourning attire, and the expression of mourning, especially in this period, is incredibly common and everyday. Very much associated with Queen Victoria and the death of her husband, Prince Albert, in 1861. The Victorians do not invent mourning or mourning jewellery at all, but
they do go mental for it.
Yes, they go mad for it, yes.
Because you were telling me about this earlier, she made her children permanently mourn. And what was the wedding thing?
Oh, yes, there's a famous photograph, her son's wedding photograph. She's sat in it, looking very sombre in her mourning clothes.
Was the bride wearing black?
Staring, no.
Okay.
I don't think so. Looking at a bust of Albert.
Yeah, so everyone had to be sad. All her children had to be sad. Everyone had to be sad forever.
But yes, yeah, she took mourning to an excessive amount of time. She mourned for 40 years. That was not normal.
No.
That was not normal. But these very ordinary pieces of jewellery show how that fashion percolated throughout society and was completely everyday practice.
There's the whole thing about the Victorian rules for mourning, which sound strict.
Yeah, it becomes quite codified in this era. It's very strict. And it depends on who you are and who the person that dies is and their relationship to you.
thinking this is quite strange in terms of we look at it so differently these days in terms of mourning is very private, and we don't tend to try to have expectations of other people mourning, but the Victorians sort of did. And I think if you'd looked at it now the way they did, I'd be worried if I was I wouldn't dream of judging someone else on how they mourn. Like, I suppose we might judge people if they jump into bed with someone else straight away. But apart from that, you're very much you do you. Whereas the Victorians had this sort of set of rules you had to sort of follow on how you did things, which I keep kind of wondering if it could have been triggering for some people, in the sense that, like, if you have to keep on, so some people, you keep on reliving a trauma, in the sense you're sort of forced to go along with something. But on the flip side, you were saying how it gives you a language to speak about it, which we don't so much, because we do. Are we just brushing it under the carpet, and are they fetishizing it? And I don't know if that's. And his whole thing is like, does it turn up a bit of keeping up with the Joneses in terms of competing for who's mourning the hardest?
There were huge societal pressures, to go into mourning and to appear in mourning. It was a very publicly done thing. Dressing in mourning is very public. Now we don't know if someone's bereaved, do we, out on the street, because you look normal and you've got this trauma with you. But then, if someone's mourning in public, you can at least see that they're mourning. And you can express that you're mourning without having to physically tell somebody.
No.
There's something quite interesting in that. And
I suppose
there's something to be said to that.
I suppose we consider it polite to assume people might have stuff going on, but we don't expect it to be labelled. But you wouldn't, if you meet someone, you wouldn't assume everything's sunny and rosy, that they might have something sad going on in their lives. So you don't jump down their throat, but maybe they wanted to label it more clearly, which I suppose does make some sort of sense.
And then in terms of jewellery, the sort of early stages of mourning is black, but often matte black.
Right.
So something like this, it is a little bit shiny, but it's kind of matte because it was seen as sort of unbecoming to wear your flashy jewellery in those early stages of mourning. Jet really is the only suitable kind of material, or jet substitutes that very kind of matte black.
It does make it interesting that you have this period where there's a huge demand for matte black jewellery, which I don't feel I see.
And cloth as well.
And cloth, but in jewellery specifically, like the idea of a lot of demand for something matte black, which is usually the thing people are less. Like with diamonds, black things are the cheapest.
Yeah.
Black gems are generally fairly cheap. Sparkly white things are generally fairly expensive. So a lot of demand for something matte and black. It feels like a very Victorian thing, but quite a sort of peculiar thing in its own way.
Yes, and that's why Whitby kind of booms in this time. Yeah. Whitby jet is seen as the sort of highest quality jet. Jet does come from other places, but Whitby jet is often seen as the best. And that's why there's not much Whitby jet around now.
No, Victorians, we used it all.
Most of it away.
I was watching a little video by someone called Jacqueline Cullen, who's a cutter, and I'll put a link in the thing. And she has someone dangles from ropes down a cliff to dig it off. I've forgotten the term when you dangle off a cliff. Abseiling. There's an abseilist who has to harvest or mine her jet off the side of a cliff. So it's very hard to get now. There's not a lot left. And I'm interested in the sort of the difference between sentimentality and consumerism. In jewellery as a whole, I'm always interested in this because I'm always much more interested personally in the sentimental aspect, whereas obviously there's this huge consumerist side as well. And I do make money off the consumerist side, so I shouldn't be overly critical. But the fact that this kind of lives between the two worlds, because you think of mourning as a very sentimental thing, but then this whole fashion side comes in.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the mourning industry was very lucrative at this time.
Feels... I don't know how I feel about the idea of a mourning industry. I mean, I get that it's a thing,
but
we
still have a mourning industry, funeral parlours.
Which that's great, and it is there as a service. That's fantastic. It's good that there is a special service, and people will pay good money for a specialist service. But then, when you get into this sort of industry of manufacturing large amounts of stuff for money, and like the workshops look quite large for these for jet cutting. It looked like there was something about an 8-stage process, which the place did not list. Looked at the website, said 8 stages. Like, well, what are they? And it's like, not going to tell us. None of that. So it became this almost trying to become mass-produced as much as it could, within the confines of what's going on. So you have these large workshops, and you would have had people cutting, people grinding, people like polishing, beading, yeah. And I'm wondering how like unpleasant that job was, because at the moment in Britain there aren't many makers around. Making is quite a sort of a fancy nice, lovely thing to do most of the time. And it's quite calm. And it's generally, because there are not many people around, either you're doing it because you don't need money, or it does pay fairly well if you're doing it well enough. But then I got the feeling like there was, in the industry, around the Victorian times, and sort of very early 20th century maybe, like there was a large industry of huge amounts of people. And we've all shipped this off to India and Thailand now more. So these beautiful things, were they sort of, I mean, how much was the sort of the labour like? We don't know how well they were paid, I suppose. It looks like a dusty, nasty job, like cutting this stuff. So,
well, labour laws are quite minimal. In this period.
Yes, they're not
There's
overly
no minimum
policed.
wage. And
I had a go at cutting down a piece of jet for Rosamund as a gift, because I couldn't get a piece small enough. I wanted to set it in a ring, and it was too big. So I had to sort of sand it down.
Shall I give it to you?
Yeah, sure. So she can't.
I got it
a
few Christmases ago.
Yeah, so I don't know if you can see there's an emerald there and a piece of jet in a silver ring, and the jet was too big, and I couldn't get one small enough. So I sanded it down, and I had like a 4 foot long strip of sandpaper on a table, and I was sliding up and down as fast as I could, wedged in a piece of wood, so that it didn't get hot on my own hand. And it took me a long time to get it down. So it's wood, but it's not like it's fossilized wood. This is a hard piece of stone. And this is paper which is corundum. So it's sapphire. Corundum is a sort of very standard abrasive that's been around for thousands of years, which is basically tiny sapphire crystals, and they come in all different sizes. And this has been very useful for a very long time. So everyone, like various stone and metal workers for thousands of years, have been using corundum in different forms. Now you can use diamonds, which I think were much harder then. So there were diamond as an abrasive for a long time. It was just always expensive. You had to get a diamond and crush it, and then you'd have a tiny amount. But like low-level corundum is something that's been moderately available for quite a long time. So I think that was probably the same thing, but I was surprised how much hard work it was to sand these down. So I've seen little videos of people cutting this, and it seems like they know something I don't, because they were doing better. You can use a wet wheel, which stops dust coming up in your face. So I hope that reduced the sort of...
There were images of wheels, weren't there, in photographs of workshops? Because
then you get a lot of speed on a thing. But like you've got some jet with very fine cut details. This thing's got like cut through, like the details around the fingers.
Yeah.
All these
Remember,
things
this one isn't jet, but there are jet ones that are very
right. Okay.
To this.
Yeah. So getting
a lot of fine cutting in.
If you look at like
jet.
little bits in here where you've got to like cut in a very tight wedge shape, that's really hard, because I don't think a steel thing would do it. So you need to get like a spinny thing in to make a very fine thing. And you need the spinny thing to not wear down too much as you're using it, because you're using effectively like one stone to cut another stone. It's difficult. I'm really impressed by the detail they could get. And you're describing this as a moderately everyday object, in the sense it probably wasn't that expensive.
No, this wouldn't have been expensive.
So the level of craftsmanship and the cost, I think, is amazing. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Or terrible for the maker. It's fantastic to own. It's terrible to make. Which is why I think it might have been an awful job.
Yes, yeah. I mean, it's the same now, isn't it? A lot of lovely things we have been made under terrible conditions, just not in this country.
Because to me, if I think that's happened, that damages my love for an object.
If the labour is under poor conditions.
I want to feel the joy of the making in a thing. And if I feel someone's hated every second of it, that does tarnish it.
Think about the clothes we're wearing. And
I try not to.
Well, yeah.
I'm very large, so getting clothes tall. I'm very tall, so getting clothes tall is quite a challenge. I'd love to be able to just go to like sort of handmade, but then it's just so cheap, isn't it? We get hooked. Yeah. But I think on another episode we'll probably go into jet more. And some other mourning jewellery. This is just a kind of little taster. Hair. You love a bit
of hair.
Yeah,
I want to do hair jewellery.
Love a bit of hair jewellery. Again, I'm not a stone cutter. I'm not a hair weaver.
No.
I am a silversmith and a goldsmith, so I'll say what I can.
Yeah. You've done teeth, though, haven't you?
I've done teeth. Yeah. Yes, I'd sort of make that up. That was fun.
Yeah.
That was quite a thing. Freak people out on Instagram. Brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah.
The comments were very mixed.
Okay, shall we?
Okay, let's go.
End with
Bye-bye. You have a nice day. Bye-bye.